Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is day two of me doing video requests that I wrote down. Uh, I'm not a very good note taker, so if you requested this video, thanks. Uh, Now, the video is about basically being brutally. When somebody asks how are you doing, right? Just be brutally honest with them. And I think I've said it before. Like I despise small talk so much. So much. And I realized a lot of people might think they're socially awkward because they hate small talk, but you're not. I mean, if the normal social relationships are sort of defined or um make use of small talk quite a bit, maybe I guess you could be socially awkward, but I think it's just it's such a vacuous thing, and I think it's really common in Western societies in particular because small talk isn't really a thing. Like, you'll meet somebody, how ask them how the weather's doing, the family, the kids, and then what? To me, it seems like such a. I'd rather you have just ignored me, honestly. If it's like that, it doesn't actually seem. It's such a fake. It's part of the concern trolling that I've talked so much about. People pretend to care, but they're just posturing. They don't actually give a fuck. They're just pretending like they do. They're just doing the little ritual or routine that's like socially acceptable, but they don't actually care, and that's why I hate it so much. And I have not had friends like I'm not somebody who's very talkative at all, but if I'm around the right people, I'll literally be the loudest person. And small talk to me means that you're not actually like maybe it could be like a work setting, like you might think your work colleagues are like your colleagues, but they're not. It's a cutthroat environment. It really is, no matter where you are. Like, don't make the mistake of thinking that your work colleagues are your friends. They're not. If they can sell you under the bridge to get like a $20 pay raise, they will. They'll do it in a heartbeat, right? If it's in those kinds of situations, I don't mind small talk, right? If it's like, oh my God, we have to be here, fine. But I see it all the time. And it's weird to me because I will talk to people I'll meet people on the street or whatever who I've forgotten their names of, but we'll have like a 5, 6 minute conversation about like our lives and what we're doing, and then not see each other again for the next few months. And then I don't know if it's just a guy thing. I don't think so. I would hope not. It's kind of it really puts things into perspective because like your next door neighbor doesn't know anything about you and you've lived next to them for like years, maybe even decades, but like some random guy you met one time, you like talk to them for like 10, 15 minutes, like you actually know one another. I mean, I guess you kind of do, right? I find it so, and it's in doing things like small talk. It's people continuing to participate in things like small talk. Just it shows just how little the effort they actually want to put into fixing their issues. Because I remember like I don't know who it was, which like nationality it is. I think like is it Germans in particular? Like if you ask them how they're doing, they will tell you from like A to Z exactly how they're doing. I can't remember if it's Germans or exactly who it was. Probably Russians. Like I had a Russian friend. Like from the moment we like first met, like we had a meaningful conversations from the first time we met. So like anytime I'd ask him how he's doing, he'd be like straight up front with me. And the next time he asked me, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, you really want to know?" And I find those more. It's a more fulfilling interaction. And even if you actually told people exactly how you're doing, they wouldn't really care. That's the point, right? That's the point. Even if you did tell them how you were doing, they wouldn't care. They would be like, "Oh, that's so terrible to hear. Hope you get better. Bye. I gotta catch this. I gotta go to work. I gotta do this." Right, and then just not bother about it. And to me, that seems like a very That seems like a very terrible way to interact with other human beings, right? Okay, maybe you don't like to. I like I said, I don't like talking myself. I like if I see somebody I know, if they haven't seen me, I'm probably not going to initiate a conversation just because I'm like, "Ah, I'll probably see them another time, you know." But if I know them and we talk, like I'll actually tell them, this is this and this and this is what's going on in my life, and it's more to the point why if you can just be like upfront and be like, you know what, I really don't like small talk. And if the person isn't really there investing their actual energy into you, then just tell them straight up, yo, I don't do small talk at all. Like, doesn't matter who it is. Because to me, it seems like a waste of time. And you're not going to care about somebody who's just posturing like that to you. So why should you even waste your energy with that interaction? I've also found like, people who have like wronged you in some way, that is the way that they try and get back into your life. They do it through small talk. And I loathe, like, if you know I don't fuck with you, I'm done. Like, I don't want to like uh patch things or like not like my time is like literally time is the only thing. The time spent not doing like torturous activities is the only actual time you have in this reality. So why the hell waste it with like somebody who's there to just waste your time basically? Why bother? And I've always thought to my friendship, like even like the friendships I've made like over the past few years, like they've become fewer and fewer, but how they started is like a somewhat meaningful conversation, right? It's somewhat like a decent interaction. All the other people who I was meeting at that time, it was just like, how do I say it? They were just filling the air with words, right? But they were not meaningful words. I could see firsthand just how shallow so many friendships and relationships are by just how they talk to one another. It's like, I personally really don't care what people do, right? I don't at all. It's just funny how they try and like pinpoint weaknesses in other people when what they're doing is so in the open that they don't even realize how obvious it is that they don't actually like being around one another. It's and especially like in uni. Oh man, I thought I'd seen it all really. I thought I'd seen it all in high school, but like uni is just that much worse. Like people basically know each other for like one thing, and it's usually like alcohol or drugs or something or clubbing. But then after that, like if that dynamic disappears, like, you know, h- why is it so easy for people to call other people friends? I don't understand what it means at this point. Maybe it's just, is it like the kids' cartoons and maybe my upbringing that like told me that friendship meant something different? Because like you would think adults have a better grasp on how to interact with one another more meaningfully, but it just gets worse the older you get. Like somebody who you are used to talking to almost every day in some way, years go by and like you don't even feel like you messaging them, or you feel like you'd be intruding by messaging them, right? I'd say take relationships for whatever they are, right? We're at a stage, like a lot of people are at that stage where you can either believe into whatever delusions that were fed to you, or you can just live with the like gruesome reality, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you have to think about it all the time, but the less you lie to yourself, the better off you'll be later on. But at the same time, there's still some element of faking it till you make it. And like either I'm just naturally socially awkward, or I know too much, or I have like several mental illnesses, but I can actually adapt in social situations quite well. including small talk, by the way. But if the small talk doesn't go anywhere after that, I'm just like, yo, what the hell do I do now? And I think a lot, like, if you have that kind of personality where, like, you don't actually get bored easily. It's just the people around you are boring, which is fine. You know, you could probably find another group of people to be more engaged with, but it's there's such a low standard for communication these days. I went to like a party last week, and just because it was like near my house, and the kinds of conversations people were having, I'm like, yo, I legit heard somebody say main character energy and like toxic trait in real life, right? These are just things I heard in TikTok. This is real life. I'm like, are people really this far gone? Is it really NPC country out here like this? There's no way, like, you know, to that extent, you know, you would become socially awkward in an environment like this. They're just speaking in Twitter quotes and TikTok memes. Like, you know, you just like shake them and ask them, like, do you have any personality in there? Do you have any actual thoughts in there? Right? It's one reason I've hated, like, you think of the places that depend on small talk to lubricate the social environment, right? Clubs, bars, workplaces, where else? You know, all these kinds of weird like engagements and events. And I understand, like, it's there's certain places you really can't just be brutally honest with people in that sense because uh I mean, you look at the kind of people and you're like, you know, why would you want to share that with them? But at the same time, if somebody asks and you tell them, why should they be shocked? They asked, right? Don't ask. Don't ask people how they are. Don't even like I genuinely prefer somebody not bother asking how I am than asking and then like basically asking just for the sake of it, you know, just like oh yeah, you know, like it's like a chore they have to do. I would much rather somebody ignore me. Like it feels it really feels as if they're now the ones like extending their time and their service out to you when you literally just asked, right? And you know, for me, I think it's actually it's an easy way to weed out the kind of people you don't want around you by just genuinely telling them how you are, right? If they stick around after that and they actually like show concern, you know, maybe that's that if that happens often. I don't think it happens often, but it's one way to like, you know, they'll be like, oh, this guy has so many, but like the other person probably has the same similar fucking kinds of issues, but they just manage to drown it out and hang around other people who have also drowned out their issues. Because you can't tell me we're constantly complaining about the same things, or not even complaining, but just bringing up the lunacy that we see happening every day. And you know, these are also people who are seeing the same things, but they don't talk about it. It's like some dirty secret or something, right? I'm, I don't even see the point. Like I get so bored. Like sometimes I was even asking myself, you know, sometimes I just sit and wonder, like, you know, if I didn't have like my sense of sight or hearing or the ability to talk, you know, how much different would my life be? And it's easy enough to say it from uh my perspective because I have all my senses in that sense. uh but you know, if you couldn't talk, right? If you are mute, as much as it might affect your social ability, sometimes it's a really good thing to not have to respond to other people because the kind of stupidity that they make you have to participate in is just made that much easier when you're like, oh, you know, they look at you like, oh, you can't talk, oh, that's so sad, right? I mean, I don't know. Is this reality better off when you can't like feel it? If that makes sense. If you were blind, would this reality be a better place or a worse place? You know? How we interact with this world is so it's it's so deliberate, but it's also random, right? And I don't know, like, to me, in fact, I'll make another video about this because there's some videos I thought I made, but I didn't. To me, we're currently living in an age where like nerds run the world, and I have no problem with saying that because it's the truth. Like, look at these social media platforms. Look at fucking Zuckerberg, really, right? Even if I call him a nerd, he's like a multi-billion-dollar nerd who could have me assassinated like 5 times. Okay, algorithms run the world. These are right, like, you can have the perception of like this like socially awkward IT specialist sitting in like a dungeon somewhere, but he's earning like 100, 200, 300 plus grand easy, not even have to put in his entire effort, and these algorithms are powering everything, every social media platform, forex trading, you name it, they're everywhere. But with that, it seems like because these kinds of people just weren't able to connect with, I guess, greater society in that sense. Like, you're not going to be, once you know enough about the world, it's very hard to socialize, right? No matter what field you study, you just know too damn much, right? This isn't to say like, it's not to be some like elitist like fart sniffing like academic or something, but it's just fact, right? Meet any really smart person, right? Any like really um like a person who has a lot of education, right? And just really look at how they interact with the world. It's never going to be the same. You're going to see a lot of things that are out of place, and you pointing it out to people will make you look like you're the crazy one because they're just that used to it. And if you really think about it, social media is probably the best chance that like people who tend to be like introverted or withdrawn have an ability to socialize, but it's also wrecked the social life. Like, it's also wrecked like the social life of most people as well. That's where like the worst kinds of small talk happen, because like you'll see a message and you're like, the fuck, who the fuck is this? Who is this? Right? Maybe you knew them from like years ago or something, but you're like, what the hell? I don't even like, I only keep certain social media around for like very particular reasons, and I don't use them recreationally. I don't, like, I have several burner accounts and I don't follow anyone I know at all, like not anymore. And it feels great. Right? it, what is the point of like watching somebody's story who you haven't talked to in like 6 years, and then the fact that if you send them like a hi, how you're doing type of thing, they'd either not respond or it would just be like some, why is this guy texting me, or why is this person like texting me now, it's like you're annoying them. It's never going to stop being weird to me. So, nowadays I just talk to anyone who has something interesting to say. I don't really like hi, how you doing type shit with anyone. Like, I don't do it at all. I don't see the point. I don't see the point. Like, these like these like small scale like stupid social interaction type things, just start ignoring them, honestly. Just blow them off. Like, literally. Well, if they're not going to actually care about, well, if they're not going to actually put into any energy into why they're asking you how you are doing, because what does that mean? Like, it's like, instead of asking me how I'm doing, just ask me like, hey, you enjoying the weather today? Just go through it. Just like cut the middleman out and be like, yeah, that is more interesting than asking somebody how they're doing, right? Or did you see this? Did you see that? Like, rather than the fake bullshit concern trolling. That's what it that in essence is what it is to me. I'll try and remember which. I know there's certain countries or certain cultures. If you ask somebody, they will lay it down for you. Then you're like, shit. Wow. Okay. Phew. But I honestly think it would be a much. It would people would have a much less worse time if they actually followed through with the how are you type of dynamic, right? If you actually follow through and you're like, that's wow, that's wild, then you tell them how you are, right? It would make a lot more people a lot more conscious. But it seems like we're running away from consciousness right now. Like that's a video for another day. But yeah, thanks for the request. I'll try and like you guys can post as many requests as you want, and like at one week, I just want to do like a whole week of just video requests. I find them very fun.